Welcome at the second day of our Flower Talk. My name is June16 and I'm the Sales Manager Europe of PanAmerican Seed. Today we are again at the location of PanAmerican Seed in Venhuizen. We're going to show you a great program of new products and great discussions. I would like to introduce you to my colleague Eva van der Kruijsen from the Marketing Department.
Thank you, Jeroen. Welcome today at Flower Talk. This is our organized event instead of the cancelled flower trials, which we usually hold in Rijsselhout in the Aalsmeer region. However, unfortunately, that couldn't take place. So today we will be presenting some new products. We have some great content to share. But first, I'd like to introduce you to our host today, Amanda Payne.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, my name is Amanda Payne and I'll be presenting today. I am honored to be in this lovely flowered-filled greenhouse again. We're going to discuss some interesting topics for plant growers. We're gonna show you some lovely new varieties. And if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat box. They're on the bottom right-hand side of the page where you're watching this stream. So be sure to answer any questions if you have them. I think it's time to start. So we're going to watch a clip of Jeroen, who has already visited some plant growers in the Netherlands. So let's go.
Ik ben nu onderweg naar kwekerij Jan Harting om daar onze laatste introducties te laten zien. Hi Jan.
Hi Jeroen.
Hey, dankjewel dat ik even de nieuwe producten bij je mocht komen laten zien. Beginnend met E3 Easy Wave. Die brengen we in 7 kleuren.
Is die ook zo vroeg bloeiend, Jeroen?
Ja, hij heeft maar 10 uur daglengte nodig om in bloei te komen. Dus het is hartstikke mooi voor de vroege teelt. En hij is wat compacter in zijn groei.
Helemaal perfect.
Dus dat past mooi in de kwekerij, denk ik. Ja. Nou, daarnaast hebben we de uitbreiding in de beacon, de beacon roos.
Is deze ook mildhoudtolerant?
Ja, hij is net als een andere kleur is die ook resistent tegen de mildhoud. Dus het is ook weer een mooie aanvulling in het totale assortiment. Ja Jan, de laatste die ik je wilde laten zien was de begonia megavast pink bronslief. Dat is een aanvulling in de kleur, de range van het blad met name. Dus dat donkere bladige typetje met een mooie roze kleur.
Ja, wij zijn daar heel erg blij mee. Want bij ons zien wij de afgelopen jaren elk jaar bijna een verdubbeling in de omzet in begonia's. En met name de hardgroeiende begonia's. Ja. Dus daar zijn we heel erg blij mee met een kleur erbij.
Nou, hartstikke mooi. Dan kunnen we daarmee er tegenaan. Dankjewel.
Ja, ook bedankt.
Thank you, Jeroen, for showing us these lovely varieties at Grower Harting. As you can see, I'm back at the table with my guests, Leon Vrijlands and Diego Poot. Thank you again for being here and sharing your expertise. The first topic we're going to talk about is plastic. Of course, this is an important issue globally. Everybody's talking about how to use less plastic and how to get rid of the plastic particles in the ocean, also known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch or plastic soup. And of course, growers are also looking into how to reduce their plastic intake. Leon, can you tell us a bit more how to help the environment in this industry?
Well, in our industry, we for sure use quite a number of pots, containers, trays of plastic. And that's, well, quite something what has some harm in the industry or for the environment. So, yeah. There is maybe a nice video what we can show first before I start my topic. Is that okay?
Please do so, yes.
Okay. I think we have a nice video. We're not having directly the video of the plastic soup. Well, then I'm starting to talk about the pots first. As we have seen, there is quite a lot of plastic waste, plastic soup. It's a topic what is quite known all around the world. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to talk bad about the problems of plastic or that it is bad. Now, what we notice is quite some awareness. Awareness for the end consumer. Awareness for the retail. Also awareness for the companies who make plastic pots. Because also the companies that make plastic pots are aware that there may be need to change something. And almost each of those companies do have a line of biodegradable pots. Well, we all know the waste that plastic gives. And that's not only us from the industry, but we as a company want to look into that and look into the possibility to get a reduction of it. Well, we work for 4 to 5 years now with Jiffy as one of the companies that deliver a certain kind of biodegradable pots. And well, when we talk about biodegradable pots, there are two types. There is a type that is industrial compostable, and we got a type that is home compostable. And what is the difference? Well, home compostable is made of rice chaff. It is made of pulp, but also cocoa fiber. If you put it in the soil, well, it degrades. Mm-hmm. At the other hand, we got the bio or the industrial biodegradable pots, and this is the one that is home compostable. Okay. If you put it in the soil, it degrades totally. But the industrial biodegradable pots that need a certain temperature, at least 60, 65 degrees to degrade. Mm. If you compare it with a plastic pot, for the end consumer, it looks the same. It seems like plastic, although it is bioplastic. So for the end consumer, it's just things like this. Well, that is environment friendly. That is something, this is for the bio circumstances, the best one to use. In fact, it's quite funny, but one of the supermarket chains here in Holland, a big one, has got an action, what they call moestuintjes. Well, to be honest, I don't know the word in English, but it is that they have giveaways for the customers to get the kids aware of vegetables, flowers, what they can sow themselves in, again, a biodegradable pot. Awareness for the kids. And when the kids love it, it starts also for the parents and go on. Well, as said, there are quite a lot of different types of pots, different companies that make them. And for the last 4 or 5 years, we have done here in Venhuizen a lot of tests to see how it degrades, but also are our genetics behaving the same in those pots as they do in those biodegradable pots? Is the plant habit the same? What happens with the moisture level or the fertilization level? Because we don't want to sell something and to give information, but due to the fact that we use another type of pot, the plant reacts different. So we've done quite a lot with that. In the early stage, the pots were getting dirty, showing algae, showing, well, they degraded already on the fields or in the fields. Nowadays, they have improved much more, and you can see, even if you grow them in these pots, the outside stays clean and the inside arranges that the water level goes smoothly from up to down, or even from underneath to the top. Well, in fact, I will show you. It takes some time. One of the big advantages is, I don't know if you can see, but if you use a pot like this, in fact, the roots are getting through. Yeah. That has a big advantage for instance, the landscape sector or the community sector. Because nowadays, they got a plastic pot, they need to remove the pot, plant the plant in the soil, and then they got a lot of waste. Studies showed us that if you grow for a landscape project or for communities inside biodegradable pots, well, you have around 20–25% less labor or less costs for time to use by removing the plastic pot from the plant, and you don't have any waste. So for the landscape sector, it's quite interesting to use. And well, as you can see, this is a basil. Almost all type of plants can be grown inside this type of pot. What we also looked into, because all our pots are machine filled, so we want to know for sure if you use a certain type of biodegradable pot, will it stack off quite easily? Will it show problems? So in all steps that we normally use in using a biodegradable pot instead of a plastic pot, do we compare, is it similar like behavior in the plastic pot compared to what we maybe want to change? Or maybe the government at a certain moment wants to tell us to change. But yeah, that's a little bit what we do nowadays. To know exactly, can we have our genetics also be shown in a biodegradable pot compared to what we have.
So why don't growers switch over to biodegradable pots 100%?
It's a little bit the question of the demand from the customers, the demand from the retail, and also for the growers. At this moment, the costs for a biodegradable pot is still a bit higher than a plastic pot. And if you talk about the numbers we use in our industry,
it adds up.
Yeah. So that means if there is a bigger request from the customers, a bigger request from retail or maybe from government to reduce the plastic part, well, this is a solution. But also the industrial biodegradable pots who act maybe even more like the plastic pot, but the recycle percentage of the biodegradable pots with the industrial make are much higher. Because I don't know if you know, we all recycle quite a lot. And we think that all the plastic that we recycle, not only at companies, but also at our homes, are used to recycle totally. But only 15–20% gets recycled. And that's due to the, well, the plastics are not always suitable to recycle. So that's quite something to look into and to hope. Well, we as a company also look at other possibilities. We want to think about the environment, about the sustainability, durability, to create something that also for our kids and the kids of our kids
get to enjoy.
Yeah.
And do you think the consumer is willing to pay a bit more for a biodegradable pot?
I think so, they do. And the fact is, also the consumers see much more nowadays the plastic waste.
Yeah.
We see movies with the plastic soup, the problems for the nature, and there is an awareness at the public, at the end consumers, the persons that buy our plants. And when they say, hey, I don't want the plastic pot anymore, I want it to be more bio-friendly, well, they surely want to pay some extra money for it.
That's good.
Yeah, I hope so.
Actually, we want to try to encourage the growers of our products, to make the change, to change from plastic to other materials that are compostable, but also we want to challenge retailers so that they are willing to pay more and offer it to the consumers so that we really can make a change. And especially for the bedding plants with a very short crop cycle, this is a very good solution to grow the plants. For indoor plants or perennials that are production time over 1 year, it's a little bit more complicated because then the pot will probably degrade too much. But for all the annuals, it's a great opportunity to make a difference.
Okay, so it's something every stage has to work with, has to try and solve this problem of plastic. Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing that information. I think it's an important topic to talk about.
Oh yeah, sure is.
Yeah, but right now we're going to switch over to Shaq. He is outside of the greenhouse right now in the pollinated section to tell us a bit more about perennials. So I'm curious. Shaq, are you ready?
Almost.
Almost ready.
Yeah?
There he is.
Good afternoon, good evening, good night and good morning to all of you. For the ones that were not able to join the live stream of yesterday, my name is Sjaak Ros of PanAmerican Seed, area manager for PanAmerican Seeds since 35 plus years. Let's talk about perennials. For different reasons, it was not popular by growers to grow perennials from seed in the past. Either germination was too low, too slow or too irregular, and besides that it could take them some 8-9 months before they could come to the market because it took them so long to produce these varieties. So that was a very long return on their investment. For these reasons, PanAmerican pushed their breeders into trying to make them earlier and more reliable. And boy, what a great job did they. PanAmerican nowadays offer a full line of perennials from seed that are reliable and that are early too. About the early ones, I would like to show you a few of these ones. These are all first year flowering perennial, so you don't need any vernalization to get them in bloom. One of the flagships of this first year flowering perennials program is our lavender program, the Spanish lavenders and the English lavenders. These ones have been potted in week 12, the English lavenders in week 10, and you see them now pretty close to each other. So the Spanish lavenders, our Bandera series, you can come early to market and later on you can change to the English lavenders. So you have a full program of lavenders for you. The Bandera series, absolute top quality, very uniform, so very professional. Comes available in 4 colors. 1 color we are missing in this display, but make sure it's available too. Once the Bandera is gone, then we go to the earliest in the Lavandula angustifolia, and that's Avignon Early Blue. Then we go to Blue Spear with the large flower spikes. And then later on we go to the Elegance and to the Lavance, which is the latest one, so really for the later part of the summer. Another very important variety in this first year flowering program is the Madonna, our Fleur de Select Gold Medal Shasta Daisy. Wonderful product and very easy and very quick too. It takes about only 4 months. That is one in the standalone. But what about this wonderful Digitalis series named Dalmatian? It comes available in 5 strong colors: purple, white, peach, creme and pink. And very uniform in the series. You don't have the up and down effect, what you very often see with these ones. And can you believe what this is in a garden? What a spectacular, wonderful, colorful thing. And remember, easy to produce. About easiness, the English lavenders, you don't need to pinch that. So it's very cost effective too. From the Dalmatian we go over to Gora from seed. Usually Gora is always produced from cuttings. Well, if you want to avoid these problems with the cuttings, here it is from seed. Gora Sparkle White, yeah. Fleur de Select Gold awarded, as well as All American Selections awarded. Finally, if 2 or 3 more of these varieties, Salvia Salvatore Blue. If you're looking for some grayish foliage, we have this Perovskia. And then finally, one of the varieties first year flowering is Coreopsis grandiflora Sunfire. So again, all these are first year flowering, and that's the majority of this range of perennials. So wonderful stuff. And besides that being first year flowering, make sure that these ones still can be produced in the traditional perennial way. So the standard perennial growers still can produce this in their regime, but making these first year flowering, we also now are available to get these varieties grown by our annual growers.
Thank you very much, Jacques. That was
Any
a
questions?
lovely selection. There
It
is a
is.
question, but it's one for inside. Diego, do you have any tips to prevent root rot on your lavenders?
Yes, root rot is mainly caused by Pythium or Phytophthora. That's 2 different fungal diseases. Those fungal diseases are related to overwatering. So if your pot is overwatering, there's not enough oxygen supply for the roots, and then the roots getting weaker and are more sensitive for those diseases. So if you grow a lavender, it's really important that you use a very coarse growing media with big particles in it, so that it has a good drainage capacity. If you grow them outdoors and you have a lot of rain, so that it's easy to drain and that it is holding enough oxygen in the pot for healthy root development. So that's when you start transplanting, it's really important to pay attention to your potting soil. There are several preventive or fungicides on the market. We always recommend to do a preventive treatment with a fungicide, mainly a drench, before spacing the plant. When you space the plants, that's a stress moment for the plant. So if you give a preventive treatment, that will help you to prevent against root rot diseases. And if you have at a very long rainy period, it's also recommended to do a preventive drench to protect your crop if they were wet for a very long time. But overwatering, also by irrigation, between the irrigations, you really need to dry out the pot to a level 2, water up to a level 4, but avoid that the soil is saturated for a very long time. And also the field where you're growing, or your growing floor should have a good drainage capacity, so that they are not standing for several hours in the water, because that's what they don't like.
Perfect, thank you. We're gonna have a look at a plant you've already seen before. Maybe you've seen it yesterday, but we are very fond of this plant. So Sylvia is gonna tell us all about it, all the way from France. Here is the E3.
Bonjour, je suis Sylvia Rocheteau, responsable régionale pour PanAmerican Seed. Nous sommes aujourd'hui dans l'ouest de la France, chez FloraTalk, un producteur de plantes à massifs, vivaces et aromatiques du groupe Fleuron d'Anjou, qui produit des pétunias Easy Wave depuis de nombreuses années. Je vais vous présenter notre nouvelle série E3 Easy Wave, une évolution d'Easy Wave dans notre gamme de pétunias retombants issus de semis Wave. Cette nouvelle série E3 Easy Wave est introduite pour 2022 avec 7 coloris. Tout est dans son nom, 3 E en anglais pour Early, Efficient et Evolution. Early, donc plus précoce, puisque moins sensible à la longueur du jour. Tous les coloris d'E3 Easy Wave fleurissent sous une longueur du jour inférieure ou égale à 10 heures, ce qui permet de démarrer les ventes plus tôt en saison. Efficace, avec un port de plante rond et plus compact, il nécessite moins de régulateurs de croissance. Enfin, c'est une évolution d'Easy Wave, avec une très bonne tenue en serre et sur le lieu de vente, et des performances exceptionnelles au jardin, comme toute la famille des Petunia Wave. Nous allons maintenant au chalet sur le nouveau site d'essai de la société Grainbols. E3 Easy Wave peut être cultivé en toute taille de contenant, en godet, comme ici en pack, également en contenant plus grand, en pot d'1 litre, en jardinière et bien sûr en suspension. E3 Easy Wave, l'évolution d'Easy Wave, compacte, précoce, sans compromis sur les performances au jardin. Pour le printemps 2022, ajoutez dès maintenant le pétunia E3 Easy Wave à votre planning de production.
Thank you, Sylvia, for sharing that lovely information about the Easy Wave. I was wondering, do you two have a favorite color?
Ooh. Well, I think I prefer the coral one. And that's, yeah, it's a little bit a different color, but that's the one I like best. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Behind you, there's a variety that I really like. It's a sort of creamy, yellowy color. I don't know what the name is.
And that's the one you like best?
I like that one. Do you have a favorite?
I like the purple one.
The purple one.
Deep, intense purple color, nice smell.
Perfect. We're going to have a look at how Jeroen is doing on his road trip, visiting plant growers in the Netherlands. So we're going to watch him show off some plants at Grower Harting.
Hey Jan.
Hey Jeroen.
Hey, ik wil je even bedanken dat ik weer langs wil komen om de nieuwe dingen te laten zien. En ik wilde beginnen met de violen, de sorbet tijgerei en de roze blotch. Het zijn twee nieuwe kleurtjes, en met name die tijgerei natuurlijk. Ja, wat vind je ervan?
Ja, ik vind het een mooie, unieke kleur. Ik denk dat dat vast goed gaat aanslaan bij de consument.
Nee, heb ik hier een dianthus, de dianthus Jolt Purple, vol met bloemen.
Is die een beetje hittebestendig?
Ja, dit is een prachtig ding voor in de zomer. Hij blijft bloeien. Het interessante is ook, hij maakt geen zaad, er zit geen stijfmeel in. Dus hij blijft maar bloem geven. En juist in die warmte in de zomer is dat echt geweldig. Nou ja, en die wilde ik ook nog laten zien. We hebben vorig jaar de Madonna gebracht. En dit is de White Lion.
En wat is het verschil met de Madonna en de White Lion?
White Lion is dus 10 tot 14 dagen eerder in bloei. En dat betekent dus dat hij bij een daglengte van 10 uur al gaat bloeien. Dus ja, hij is een stuk eerder, waardoor je je markt mooi kan verlengen.
En dat is mooi, want het kan een mooi stukje vroeger naar buiten bij ons.
Ja, absoluut. Nou Jan, dat wilde ik je graag eventjes laten zien zo vandaag. En ja, ik hoop dat je daar zo wat verder mee kan.
Dat denk ik vast. Tot de volgende keer.
Tot kijk.
Thank you, Jeroen, for showing off those lovely plants again. As you might know, someone has joined us at the table. We have a guest, and I would like to introduce him to you. He's our breeder director of Europe and general manager, Ruud Brinkamper. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the table.
Thank you very much.
We're going to talk about plant diseases, and I think you can start us off.
Exactly. As long as growers are growing plants, they are facing problems with pests and diseases. Mainly diseases can be a very big problem. It depends a little bit on the growing conditions. Certain conditions promote the diseases, while other conditions in the greenhouse, slowing down disease pressure. You have different types of diseases. It's viruses which are mainly transmitted by insects, by trips, or by mechanical, by people who are harvesting or working in the crop. You have different bacterial diseases and also fungal diseases. And especially the bacterial and fungal diseases on the very high relative humidity conditions. That's the perfect conditions for those crops or for those diseases to infect your crops. Until now, growers were able to control those diseases by spraying fungicides. And in that way, it's easy or it's possible to grow healthy plants. But due to all kinds of changes, we see changes by retailers that are asking for the reduction of pesticides. I think we already talked about it before. But you see more and more retailers that recommend or ask from the growers, we only allow a certain number of pesticides on the product that you ship to me or that you deliver me so that we can ship or sell pesticide, not free, but limited pesticides on the crops to the consumers. And also consumers are more and more aware. We have the bee discussion, for example. So the number, and there was also regulations from governments that the number of available pesticides is getting less and less and less. So it's more and more becoming a challenge for growers to produce disease-free plants. We also see that new diseases showing up, so it's a continuous fight against existing diseases, but also new diseases now and then showing up. So that makes it even harder for the growers to manage a healthy crop. What we see now is that there is a lot of research done at the moment with biostimulants to make the plant more resilient, more resistant against all kinds of biotic and abiotic influences, so that the plant is actually stronger. Also with fertilizer you can play a little bit that you make the plant harder, so less nitrogen, less phosphorus makes the plants harder and better resistant against different diseases. But of course also for us as a breeding company, there are possibilities to help the growers by creating resistant varieties. And I think Ruud is our guy, our famous guy who developed the Beacon series, and I think he can tell us more about how you develop a disease-resistant variety.
Yes, thank you, Diego. About 50 years ago, Impatiens valeriana was the #1 bedding plant in our industry. It's a perfect product for landscaping, in the shadow and on the patio deck. And then, about 15 years ago, a downy mildew disease, all of a sudden, we don't know where it came from, basically destroyed our impatiens fields. And in the picture, you can see how our trial fields look like. The Plasmopara obtuscens, it's a fungus that grows underneath the leaves, and it can kill your plants within a matter of days. So we started looking for a solution, and we found a resistant source, and we started to introgress the resistance into our current popular Super Alpine series. That means that you want to bring the resistant genes into your current germplasm. And we developed a laboratory test, a trait test, to confirm that the plants that we found are resistant. And we used modern technology to create markers to help the integration of the resistant genes into the current germplasm. And by doing so, it's also very important to mention that we didn't create the resistance with modern technology. We used the modern technology to help us breed faster, actually. So we also developed greenhouse trials to finally, let's say, the last steps of breeding to make the product final and look nice. And as you can see in the picture, in the greenhouse, it's really a big difference. And also in the field trials, it looks like day and night, actually. On the right side, you see a non-resistant plant, and on the left side, you see a resistant line, in this case, Beacon coral, I believe. It's also important to say that high resistance is not immunity. And immunity means that the plant is actually completely immune, that the fungus does not affect the plant at all. Mm-hmm. It's important to say that the disease can actually affect the plant a little bit. The plant is resisting. You can see it on the leaves with some gray spots, and a little bit of sporulation might happen. If you want to be sure that that doesn't happen, you can use a preventative spray. You can grow beacons without chemicals, but especially if the circumstances for downy mildew is favorable, we recommend to use a preventative spray. So with that, we basically recreated or brought back the impatiens plant called Beacon. We introduced it 2 years ago in 6 colors. This year we bring color number 7. And if you want to know more about Beacon, please visit our website. There is a special website for Beacon impatiens, and there is a lot of information on the website of PanAmerican as well.
Thank you. We have a question from the chat. Would there be different diseases if the plants were in biodegradable pots?
I think until now we don't have that experience. What we sometimes see, especially with this type of pots, that you see some fungal growth on the pot, which is not harmful for the plant. So there is fungal growth on the pot itself, which is maybe not from an optic point of view, not really what you prefer, but it's not harming the plant. Another difference with this type of pots is that the plastic pot is not is really airtight, so the soil is drying out faster in this type of pots compared to 100% plastic pots. So it also gives there is maybe even an opportunity with this type of pot that it avoids that the soil is staying wet for a very long time because it's drying out through the walls of the pot. I don't know if you have in your trials seen anything that...
If I can add, we've done quite a lot of trials with these pots, and what we see is the material used to make these pots are totally free of diseases, etc. So the start is similar like a plastic pot. The thing is, when you have a pot like this and the roots penetrate the biodegradable pot, the plant is less vulnerable for certain diseases. But it's correct what Diego said. You can see sort of green layer sometimes. That's a certain algae, but that's totally not harmful. Okay. And the plant, well, I don't expect any other different diseases in these kind of pots compared to plastic pots.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
I do have another question about the beacon. You were talking about the sales going back in 50%. Is it gaining popularity now that it's downy mildew resistant?
Yes. Actually, beacon sales are very good at the moment. The product is picked up very well. Retailers are really recognizing the value of the resistance. Mm-hmm. It's an extra safety thing actually for the retailers, also for the growers. So yes, worldwide, beacon has received very well. Yeah.
And you were talking about a new color. What color is it?
Yeah, we are actually we have 7 colors now. Mm-hmm. We are not going to bring back all the colors that we once had in Super Alphin. Just the key colors, but there are a few colors in the pipeline that we are working on. Blue Pearl would be a nice one to bring back, and a lipstick rose would be nice, and some bicolors.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the information, and a special thanks for you, Ruud, for visiting us. And we're going to switch over live in the greenhouse. Sjaak is going to tell us all about herbs and vegetables. Here we go.
Most of you might know PanAmerican Seed from the wonderful range of wonderful flowers. However, since a few years, PanAmerican is into vegetables and herbs too. Our series of hand-picked vegetables and herbs really make some inroads now. It's a series of vegetables and herbs for the growers supplying the fresh market farmers as well as the hobby gardeners. The range offers homegrown flavor, exceptional fruit quality, longer harvests and loads of tasty produce. The series consists of vegetables like squash, like cucumbers. There is some eggplants. There is some peppers in. That's for the vegetables. Tomatoes, hot peppers, sweet peppers. The herbs consist of the herbs like parsley, basil, fenkel, and so on. The majority of the basil range is, the majority of the range herbs is taken care of by basil. And one of the series in that basil group is the Everleaf series. It consists of 3. It started some years ago with the Everleaf Genovese. This one flowers about 8 weeks later than any standard basil. A few years later, we came with the Everleaf Tower. That's even 4 weeks later than the Genovese, the emerald. And the Everleaf Emerald Tower was accompanied last year with this Everleaf Thai towers. And this gives a wonderful spicy addition to any cuisine thing, especially the Thais. So basil is a very important product of that, and it does very well in cookery recipes and so on.
Question for you, Shaq. Can you sow them directly into the pots?
You sure can. I guess the question is about basil. You can sow them direct in the pot. I would recommend you to sow 5-6 seeds in the pot, and that's both for the 10 or 50 centimeters. Difference in the end might be that for the 50 centimeters you might need about a week longer to get them ready for starting eating and using. But the basil is really multi-purpose. It's great for packs as well. So growers like this as well because it's a very quick to produce thing. Yeah?
Perfect. I have a question at the table as well. How to control downy mildew in these edible basils?
Actually, there are different ways to control or manage actually the downy mildew in the basils. It first always starts with cultural practices. So pay attention to when you're watering the plants. Long periods of wet leaves promote downy mildew development. So if you need to water the plants, you preferably do it in the early morning so that during the day the leaves can dry up very quickly. And don't do it at the end of the day because then there is a high risk that during the whole night the leaves will stay wet, and that really promotes downy mildew infection. Also, if you space the plants, space them on time. So if you create more airspace around the plant itself, you create a better microclimate, so a lower relative humidity around the plant, and that also helps to prevent downy mildew development. Another thing what you can do is giving a long day treatment. So if you make the night length 6 hours or less, so you give day extension. So when with sunset you turn on simple incandescent lights. That also helps to prevent downy mildew spores from germination. And if they germinate, they grow into the leaves and they can infect the plant. So that's another method to avoid downy mildew infestation of your plants. There are also, of course, chemicals, fungicides available to control it, but that depends a little bit on the purpose of the plants. If it's for ornamental use or as edible. And as edible, you don't want to spray any chemicals on it. So then it's better to spray potassium phosphate, that's a possibility, or a Bacillus subtilis is a possibility to control the downy mildew. But then it's really important that you reach the bottom side of the leaves, because on the downy mildew, you always find it on the spores on the bottom side of the leaves. And it's really difficult to reach that part, but by spraying early, when the plants are still young, you can reach the underside of the leaves. Another important part is if you find any infected plants in your greenhouse, that you directly try to discard them, because when the plants are infected, it's very hard to recover. So it's better if you find a few plants, put them in a bag, throw them away. By putting them in a bag, you avoid that the spores are spreading out. So that's some tips to avoid it and to grow without any problems.
Thank you. I believe in the meantime, Shaq has moved to the fantastic foliage, and he's going to tell us all about it.
Yeah, thanks again, Amanda. Last but certainly not least, our fantastic foliage collection. This is a collection of foliage accent plants that give a natural look to our living spaces. Besides that, the range is also pleasing consumers that are looking for some little different plants. One of the most common varieties in the range is our Coleus that most people might know. We have various series of Coleus. We have some with large flowers, like the Kong series, and we have some of the smaller sized flowers. We also have some that do very well in the sun. Usually Coleus likes to be standing in the semi-shadow, but we do have in the premium sun range some varieties that do very well in the sun. But Or however, are you looking for something different? Some silvery foliage with some hanging tendency. Well, you have this. Or do you want to have other type of foliage plants with different colors? Our Celosia Gecko Green, that was FleurSelect awarded last year by FleurSelect, of course. The brother or the sister, the lizard leaf with curled, crispy leaves. Silvery upright, the silver dust. Do you want to go for some more robust plants or more bigger plants? Well, we have the Alternatera Purple Prince. Do you want to have it a little bigger and taller? There is its brother, the Purple Knight. The famous, unique, from seed, Dichondra silverfalls, from seed. How wonderful is that? And if you really are looking for, let's say, leaf begonias, the Griffin, especially in the warmer parts of the world, it does great in the garden. Besides that, it's also very good as an indoor house plant in our cool climate in Holland and so on. I think that's about it, and what you can see is that really fantastic foliage is offering something different for the consumers in the world that are looking for some different plants. And well, here it is. And this is not a full lineup. For the full lineup, we kindly ask you to visit us on the website or ask for a catalog or drop me an email or whatever, because there is so many choice to choose from. We can fill in almost everything that you want us to fill in. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaq. It looks very impressive. I have a question at the table. Diego, how about the coloring of the leaves of both Sol celiosas?
We have done quite some research on those two crops, and what we see is when you have more intense light, like we have today, it feels like a sauna over here. With more intense light, you see that the leaf color is getting more intense. When you grow them in the greenhouse, they might look a little bit light red or more greenish, but when you put them outside, in the garden or in landscape, and when you have them in the full sun, you will see that the leaf will become very, very dark, intense colored. So it's really a matter of light intensity that's determining the final leaf color. So in that way, in the winter they will be a little bit less intense, but in the summer with high light, and also in conditions in the world where you have high light conditions, you will find very nice, intense foliage.
That's lovely. Thank you. We were talking earlier on in the stream about the beacon, and because there's a lot of development in this plant and we just have a lot to tell about it, we have made a special clip about it. Here is extra information about the beacon.
Welcome to PanAmerican Seed in Van Huysen, the Netherlands. My name is Ruud Brinkkemper and I'm the breeder of Beacon Impatiens. Beacon Impatiens was introduced last year in 6 popular colors. The main difference between Beacon Impatiens and our current and popular Super Elfin series is that we brought in high resistance to downy mildew. Downy mildew became a global problem about 10 years ago. Downy mildew is an airborne disease, somewhat like a fungus, and it can affect the plant at the grower level, but most of the times it affects the plants in the garden in the late summer. If the plant gets infected, it can die in a matter of days. And with the introduction of high resistance into Beacon, we really brought back this garden favorite. The Beacon is picked up globally by the retailers, the growers and the consumers very well. And for this coming year, we introduce this new color, Beacon Rose. And if you want to know more about Beacon, please contact your area manager.
Thank you again, Ruud, for sharing this information about the beacon. We have a question at the table for Diego. Do you advise to apply fungicide against downy mildew at plug stage?
Although the beacon has high resistance against downy mildew, we mainly recommend the growers to apply preventive fungicide treatment in the young plant stage. It depends a little bit on the conditions where you are growing, but if you are growing also susceptible varieties from seed or from cuttings, it's for sure recommended to treat them with a fungicide. In general, we say if you treat them 1 week before you ship the plugs to the customers, it's a good moment to give a spray or a drench so that you give some extra protection with your seedlings. As Ruud told before, they have high resistance, but still there is a possibility that small numbers of spores can develop on the plant. The plant won't die, and finally the plant is stopping the growth. But it's more cosmetic, so that you don't get complaints from your customers that there are some spores which are not harmful for the plant, but could be harmful for other plants that grower is growing. And also for the finished plant grower, I would recommend to do a preventive treatment 1 week before selling the plants to the retail, so that the plants are free of spores when they are in the retail, so that they look pretty and sell easily. But it's not necessary, but it's just an extra prevention, and especially when you're in conditions where you have high pressure of downy mildew, or where you are growing other impatiens which are sensitive, and there are still some varieties in the market, mainly vegetative varieties with a double flower that is not possible to produce from seed. Then it's for sure recommended to a good recommendation to do a preventive treatment.
Okay, thank you. Earlier on in the stream, we've seen Shaq outside in the pollinated section talking about perennials, and we have a special clip for you talking about new varieties in the assortment. Here we go.
Welcome in Venhuizen. My name is Cor de Jong. I'm Perennial Global Product Manager of Perennials for PanAmerican Seed. We are today in Venhuizen, which is one of the breeding locations for perennials in our company, together with the USA and Costa Rica. I want to show you today 2 of our new introductions for this year that we have bred to be better products for growers and for consumers. One of them is the Shasta Daisy, also known as White Lion, a well-known and standard perennial. The normal Marguerite flowers about June. This one has a shorter day length that can make it finish earlier for growers and have it earlier sold in the shops. The message of White Lion is earliness and extending your sales season in Shasta Daisy. This variety brings you extra early sales for this Shasta Daisy, together with the Madonna that we recently launched. Our new introduction of Starship Rose brings you that same branching and timing as our key variety Starship Scarlet. It is a very well branched plant, a great pollinator plant in vibrant colors that we offer. Please contact your area manager for more information about these varieties.
Thank you, Cor, for sharing this information. Again, if you have any questions, ask them, because we will answer them right away. We have a question for Leon at the moment. What is the difference between the Madonna and the White Lion?
The White Lion is also bred to be in the early part of the season. So when day length is still around 10 hours, the White Lion doesn't need the long days to start to flower. So also under shorter day lengths, the White Lion is able to flower already. So you can start with the White Lion and follow up with the Madonna. And that makes the total possibility to deliver this kind of plants to the retail or to the consumers a longer period.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that's it for now. There's no questions at the moment. So I want to thank you all. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Diego. Special thanks to Ruud. And thank you, Shaq, from wherever you are in the building or not in the building right now. And thank you, the viewer, for asking your questions. This was Flower Talk 2021. I hope you've had a great day. If you want to visit the lovely greenhouse, do so. Make an appointment with your area manager. And we'll be enjoying the tropical temperatures for a bit longer. Have a great day. Bye-bye.